What's up, everyone? We have a lot of things to talk about in the stock market right now. Looking at the SPY today, it's really moving to the upside in a very exciting way, and some stocks are just exploding, like Tesla, ExxonMobil, Chevron, and more. One stock in today's video is actually having a $75 billion buying frenzy right now, which we'll definitely make sure to cover. But overall, make sure to stick with us all the way to the end of today's video. We have some great plays for tomorrow, some important things you won't want to miss. And we have a $4.28 million trade to keep an eye on. But with that being said, let's get right into today's episode.
Yeah, Mike, that S&P 500 today actually did very, very well. Now, I will say at market open, we started falling down, but we had a very nice gap up early on because of good GDP numbers, and we saw Tesla rocket up this morning and a nice earnings continuation. So very nice for Tesla. They got all the way up to that 161 resistance up there. And what I really loved about the SPY today, Mike, is there was actually a double bottom opportunity, none other than right at $400, which we have talked about so many times. And Mike, I specifically remember you saying yesterday, guys, once we break 400, watch for it as a potential support. And that actually played out very, very well today. And we saw a very nice explosion to the upside. But the big news this morning, Mike, was the GDP numbers that came out. And then, of course, Tesla had that nice continuation. So they ended up actually having a good demand outlook, which is good. Their conference call went very well. Elon ended up saying some pretty good stuff throughout that, which was nice. But even bigger than Tesla, or I guess bigger for the economy overall, was actually the GDP numbers. So what was interesting, Mike, is the GDP rose to 2.9%. It was actually falling down a little bit whenever we look at the economic calendar here. You can see the expectation was 2.6 or 2.7. So it was nice to see it actually stay higher here. And, that helped us even rocket up too.
Exactly. And what's interesting with this GDP data is the last reading actually came in at 3.2%. And this reading, just like Tom said, came in at 2.9%. So even though it was lower than the last reading, it was actually decent news overall because it beat the expectations, which were right around 2.6 or 2.7%. So, it wasn't like groundbreaking news, but it definitely wasn't bad. And it definitely did play a role into all the bullish price action that we saw for a lot of today.
Yeah, definitely did. And, looking at the calendar here, looking at tomorrow, all that we really have is the PCE numbers coming out along with personal income and personal spending. I think it might affect things a little bit, but the GDP numbers today were the big things that we were waiting for and ended up going very well. I'm glad that they came in better than expected, Mike. And, like you said, it really helped the market get up there early on. And then, we were riding Tesla off their earnings, which was nice. So it was just setting up to be a very, very bullish day, especially at open. But like I said, we had that big pullback. And I will say for a lot of traders that hopped into calls right when the market opened, it was actually pretty tough because we had a big pullback there before rising later on. And that's why it's always important to, look at all these big support levels and resistances. And I will say that bounce at 400 today was pretty spot on, Mike. I mean, we were honestly within just a couple cents of touching it directly.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting day. And you mentioned like the very, I guess you could say, critical importance of support and resistance levels, especially in this market. One of the most important levels, as we've said a million times this week, is $400 on SPY. But now we're a little bit above that, right? We're lingering right around 404. So at this point, Tom, what are like the next major levels going forward? Of course, we're going to keep having 400 even as support, but in terms of resistance, what's next?
Yeah, so today actually right around open, we actually bounced right around like 404. And I noticed that right around that 404 area, we've had a lot of resistance, especially back there in late November. So looking at 404, we're honestly sitting on that pretty much right here as the market closed. So I'm kind of hesitant, here on the SPY because we're doing very well. Obviously, we're holding 400, but we need to also hold 404 heading into tomorrow because if we start dipping below that, we might start falling back down to retest 400 again. So I think it's important to watch 404 here as a decent support for tomorrow. As a good overhead level, Mike, I'm really trying to target 408. I see a big opportunity up to there. I think that that would be a very good move, and I think that it can definitely happen here over the next day or so. If we get a similar move today, like tomorrow, like we did from today, I think the SPY could definitely run up to maybe 408, maybe even 410, which would be that next major resistance there. So I'm really looking for a big break, Mike, but we're gonna have to break some of these key levels here. And I know 400, it's very nice to be above there and holding. And we have a lot of stocks starting to move up. Even like Apple and Microsoft had very good breakouts. And man, I'm hoping that they can continue up here to end the week.
Gotcha. So let's take a look at the heat map right now to see where the money is truly flowing in the market. We can see there was a ton of green with most tech stocks, Microsoft, Google, Nvidia, Tesla did pretty good today. But what was also very interesting is we saw a lot of money flow into that oil industry, like stocks like ExxonMobil, Chevron, just companies like that, Marathon Petroleum. Like there's like a lot of good price action with those stocks. So what's going on with those ones?
Yeah, I will say, Mike, this is actually pretty insane. Now, I know a lot of oil stocks have done very, very well here over the past year or so, but guys, Chevron made a big announcement yesterday. They actually announced a $75 billion stock buyback program. This is going to start on April 1st, and they announced a dividend increase, which is fantastic. I mean, those two things combined are some of the two best things a company can do, to help drive investors into that stock. And those buybacks, Mike, what is so interesting about this is that their market cap was roughly like $350 billion at Wednesday's close whenever this was announced. That means that this buyback would represent 20% of the company's stock at current prices. Now, I know this is going to start April 1st, and it's going to take some time, but theoretically, they're going to be buying 20% of the company. So, I'm not saying the Chevron's going to go up 20% for sure, but, you would think, Mike, that it still has some overhead here.
Yeah, like if there are two things that you would love to be told about a stock that you own, it's like that they're having billions of dollars in share buybacks and that they're increasing their dividends. Like this is Christmas. Like this is like literally like the best Christmas ever for a lot of like Chevron shareholders that have been holding this stock for a while now. You know what I mean? Like it's just great news. And just like you said, Tom, their market cap as of yesterday's close was like $350 billion. And then when you have a $75 billion share buyback program, like that's a big dollar amount. Like it's not like we're talking about some, $2 trillion company that announced a, $500 million buyback program. Like this is a big deal right here. So that's great to see with Chevron, just like you said, their dividends increasing too. So, great news for them.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at that daily chart, they are running back up to yearly highs, or I shouldn't say yearly highs of the past year, but running up, that recent high is up right around 190. So I'm going to really be watching 190. And then after that, Mike, there's a big resistance up there around $200 as well, or that's going to be the big psychological level up there. Anyways, I wonder, has Chevron ever even been up to 200, Mike? Yeah, no, it actually has an all-time highs right now. So that's really big. I know a while ago, some of those oil companies took a bit of a big dip, but I'm glad that Chevron's up. And man, that's going to be awesome if they could get up to around $200 sometime soon. And I'll be honest, I could see it happening. This stock has been the best stock or one of the best ones over the past, 12 months. And I can definitely see why. There's been so many crazy things going on in the oil market. The price of oil's been skyrocketing with inflation, and yeah, I hope they can continue on this type of path.
Yeah, I mean they're so close to making a brand new all-time high, so there's a lot of momentum with it. And one thing that does, I don't want to say scare me with a company like Chevron, but one thing that's been a little bit negative for oil companies over the past year or so is I know like the government's been criticizing them quite a bit for how they've been kind of like profiting excessively off of what's been going on with oil markets over the past couple years, especially due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So I mean, that is a slight negative. It's just something to monitor if you trade these types of companies. But besides that, there's definitely a ton of momentum with them.
Yeah, definitely. And all I can say to that, Mike, is it's probably the government's fault. They're the one doing the sanctions and stuff. So the oil companies can just say, "Hey, yeah, you guys caused this." So that's.
Yeah.
I know Russia caused it, but in retrospect, they helped add some fuel to the fire.
For sure, for sure. All right, Tom. Well, today was a pretty exciting day for the market. So now I want to talk about some good setups that I'm watching. One stock I'm watching pretty closely is SE. Basically, this stock is super, super close to that like $70 resistance area. It has a nice long history of some solid price action, which is always good to see. But anyways, I'm really looking for this stock to have like a nice breakthrough that $70 area of resistance. If so, this stock definitely does have some room to run up to like that $90 area. So it's definitely close on my watch list. And over the past couple weeks and months, I've seen a decent amount of unusual options activity with this stock, and it's been pretty bullish for the most part.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice. Over the past few months, it's been really consolidating and starting to move back up. And I would say if we could break 70, that definitely looks like a very solid breakout play. So I'll be watching them. I know that we've been talking about SE quite a bit the past year as well. My first play, Mike, is going to be PayPal. Also kind of a growth stock, and they're actually pretty low right now. If we look at the daily chart, PayPal has been one of the worst stocks, I'd say, over the past couple years. I mean, that's a pretty straight down chart, almost like Meta or Netflix, or how a couple of those stocks had some big gap downs. But what I will say is that there's been a big trend line recently, ever since August, and PayPal is finally starting to break this trend line back to the upside. And I really like this. We talked about the SPY's trend line on the daily chart. SPY is actually starting to break its trend line too, and we're getting some solid closes up above here. So I will say I'm going to be watching PayPal and a lot of other stocks back to the upside if this continuation continues. And I just love this trend. If we break this, I think we could see some solid price action. I'm not saying to, buy some options that expire next week at like the 90 strike call or anything, but I think that tomorrow, maybe running up to 82 or even like 82.50 towards that resistance there would be a pretty good move.
All right, sounds good. I'll keep it on my radar. Another stock I'm watching is Pfizer, and this setup is a little bit unique. So Pfizer has been getting destroyed over like the past couple weeks or so. It's been selling off in a pretty violent way from like 54.50 all the way down to like the 44 area. So the sell-off has been pretty steep, like I said. I'm looking at this one not for a dip buy just yet, but it's going to be on my radar very, very closely over the next couple days. And if it falls more, I will look to sell put options on it or like average into call options. One thing that is high on my priority list for this setup, though, is that they actually have earnings on January 31st. So I'll probably wait until after the earnings report to do anything with them. Ideally, Pfizer would tank on earnings, and then, maybe I could scoop up some calls or, short some put options for like a nice short dip buy style trade.
Yeah, definitely. That these what would you call this? I guess a healthcare stock. I know a lot of people say vaccine stocks and stuff over the past couple of years because Pfizer was so big with them, but it's one of those healthcare stocks that is obviously one of the biggest ones out there. And Mike, sometimes they can get some really good news, and whenever they do, they can start to fly up. So who knows? Maybe they'll come out with some new breakthrough drug or something and start to move up, or like you said, maybe get a nice support bounce somewhere down here over the next couple months. Those earnings are definitely going to be the biggest thing to watch. But Mike, I will say, the market's moving up. Look at the NASDAQ here, or I should say the QQQ. This is actually starting to look pretty dang explosive in the short term. And as I start to go look at, the SPY starting to break out, a lot of these bigger tech stocks starting to move up again, Tesla's starting to rocket up, which is nice. I'm really going to be watching the TQQQ over the next couple weeks. This stock was pretty big today. It ran up 5.78%, which is pretty big. I know a lot of stocks today were up that amount, but this is like directly following an indice. It does move up, obviously, at a quicker rate. Mike, is this 3x leverage?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I think it's 3x leverage. There's so many of these ETFs out here nowadays, but I know that it's a big mover whenever the QQQ moves up, and I'm really going to be looking for it for a big swing play here. I think that maybe grabbing this, and trying to play this current breakout that's happening could be a pretty good idea, especially if you have your risk reward ratio set up and your risk tolerance all right where you need it to be.
Perfect. All right. Well, with that being said, Tom, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have NIO to the upside.
NIO, yeah, those China plays and those growth stocks like the EV stocks were really moving up. So go ahead and make NIO break above 1237, that intraday resistance right there.
Perfect. With the next one, we have ExxonMobil also to the upside.
XOM, now they closed up all the way around highs here. Let's actually go back on the 1 hour chart just to like make sure that, we're not going to be hitting anything too crazy here. Maybe even go back on the daily with this one, Mike, because yeah, wow, yeah, all-time highs. So I would say if they could break out tomorrow up above 118, watch for that big break. There's not really too much overhead besides, any like if we see any big orders on the level 2 or anything like that, maybe watch out for those.
All right. And then with the last one, we have Coinbase, and we need both directions.
Yeah, Coinbase. I know they've been doing very well lately as well. Hopefully they can start to move back up a little bit more if Bitcoin starts popping. If they fall to the downside, watch for them to fall below 52. That's actually a huge support there. And if they start to move up, there's actually a big resistance right around 54. So watch 52 to the downside and 54 to the upside.
All right, so just like Tom said, if it breaks below 52, we're looking at it for a downside play. If it breaks above 54, we're looking at it for an upside play. And then also don't forget about ExxonMobil and NIO for potential upside plays only if they break above the levels Tom listed. But it is now time for the big money trade of the day. Today's a big one. We have $4.28 million that went into Zoom. So the Zoom 70 strike call options for June 16th of 2023. Basically, this is a trade where the big money wants Zoom to go as high as possible. The higher Zoom goes, the more millions they'll make. Looking at Zoom setup, you guys know I've been talking about this one a ton lately, especially. So I do really like this one. The strike price is, it's in the money at this point. It has some time. It's a big dollar amount. Like it really does look like a good setup. I think the risk reward is pretty awesome with this one.
Yeah, I like it a lot too, Mike. I think it's starting to look very good down here, very enticing. And what I like about Zoom is, even if we go to a stock like DraftKings, which hasn't even been doing, the best over the past couple months, you can see how, it's had a pretty nice move off of recent supports. Zoom has actually been still staying stagnant, pretty low down here. So I'm definitely going to be watching for a bigger move back up, especially with how low it's been moving over the past couple years. I mean, man, that some of these charts with these growth stocks, Mike, are just insane to the downside. So I'm going to keep it on the radar. I like Zoom. We're actually using Zoom right now, guys. So, so that's something funny about it. But going out to June, I like it. I like it, the 70 strike. And what I really like, Mike, is that there's been a lot of consolidation down here recently. And we're kind of just now starting to break out above that. Like if we start pushing above 72 tomorrow again, it could start to look even better.
Yeah, and that's a great point there. And just commenting on the setup even more, and this goes especially with Zoom, but all big money setups that we talk about in these nightly videos, when you have a hedge fund or a smart money trader or whoever put $4.28 million into a trade, 99% of the time, they're not betting that the stock's going to rise the next day. So like when market open comes tomorrow, don't expect like, oh, Zoom has to go up today because someone put in, $4 million yesterday. Like a lot of times these plays take weeks to develop. Like this option doesn't even expire until June 16th. It has time. So it's like, keep in mind, this can take some time to develop. So I just want to reiterate that because I know some people just really, really like to focus on the short term, and sometimes that's not the best way to go with these style of trades.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, it's so low right now. It's not, to me, it's just not even a bad swing play. I think that even just following this one exactly and even trying to, play that 70 strike might not even be a bad idea. So I think that's a really good way to look at it, Mike. And yeah, just watch out though over the next couple days. I know that a lot of these growth stocks are starting to move up, so hopefully Zoom can start to give us some good price action. I will say today, Mike, Zoom had a really nice close with how it started pushing up higher there. And I know, Mike, you said to be careful in the short term, of course, and yeah, it's very important to do that. But I will say that these growth stocks are starting to move up, and if you're following the smart money play, that's kind of more what Mike means. Like, obviously, you can still go up tomorrow. He's just saying to watch your risk tolerance, and that's a really good point, because if you try to put a whole bunch of money in that 70 strike and you expect it to go up tomorrow, that's not the play. You have to obviously try to look at something more short term.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, one thing I want to highlight really quickly, if you are into very short-term trades, is our options bot in the Stocked Up Discord chat. So we have a bunch of different custom programs you will not find anywhere else. And if you're into short-term trading, this is definitely for you. Two of our most popular bots, the Sniper bot and the Hybrid bot, call out daily options alerts all the time. One of today's best plays was actually with PDD. The 100 strike call options were alerted at $215 each. And by the end of the day, they rose all the way up to $505 each. So that was an amazing run up. Of course, not every single play works. No software strategy has a 100% win rate, of course, but our bots do very damn good. Even the love plays, the Southwest plays, LUV, did pretty good today. So if you're into short-term trading and you're looking to even access a bunch of other custom features that we're not even talking about in this video, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Every single big money, multi-million-dollar trade that we talk about in these videos are actually given out to members before the market closes, so you can actually follow these, multi-million-dollar trades on the same exact day that the big money trades them. So if this interests you, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. If you're into short-term trading, it is definitely the program for you, and you can cancel at any time. Besides that, Tom, for tomorrow, we should have a pretty exciting day. The market closed in a pretty strong way today. Do you have any final thoughts or anything else you're looking at?
Yeah, looking at that SPY on the daily chart, this better finally be the breakout that we've been waiting for, Mike. We've been waiting a long time for this to finally start to break this trend line. Looks like it might finally be happening here. Just still watch out, guys. There's those big resistances, like right around 404 to 405, like we talked about, and then 408 to 410. So watch there over the next couple days. I really like the way a lot of stocks closed today, and I'm really hoping for a nice push up again tomorrow, especially with how this daily's looking. So hopefully we can get some nice price action, and definitely check out the Discord, guys. There's one free sniper bot play per day as well, and it should do pretty well, especially if we have some good breakouts going on.
Here we go. One other thing I want to say is I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Nathan O, in the Stocked Up Discord chat. You've been in the chat for 2 years now, and you've been super active almost the whole time. So thank you so much for that, and keep up that awesome activity. Besides that, guys, let's end the week on a great note. And again, if you're into short-term trading, definitely make sure to check out that first link in the description in the comments down below.